أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Lesson number 151, Surah Al-Kahf. Allah says, وَتَرَى, and you would see. Who does you refer to? The Samir, the listener, us. First of all, the Prophet ﷺ. It's like when you're telling a story to someone, you use the word you. Because you're talking to them, you're telling them the story. So وَتَرَى, and you would see. Meaning, if you saw them, if you were there by the cave, you would see. You would see what? Ash-Shamsa, the sun. Either when طلعت, it rose. طلعت is from the root طلع عين طلوع. What does طلوع mean? To rise. It's used for the rising of the sun. So you would see the sun, that when it rose, when the sun rose, when it ascended, when it appeared in the horizon in the morning, what would happen? تزاوروا, it would incline عن, away, كهفهم, from their cave. It would incline away from their cave. What does it mean by this? تزاوروا is from the root زاي واو را, زور. زاي واو را, زور. And زور is to bend something. What does زور mean? To bend something. From the same root is ziyarah. What does ziyarah mean? To meet, to visit. And when you visit, when you meet someone, what do? You bend. Like when you hug them or something like this. Tazawur is to meet one another, to meet each other. And over here, tazawaru an. When this word is followed by an, what does it mean? To move away from someone, to not meet someone, to turn aside from someone. It's like you're going to meet someone, but you turn away, you don't meet them. So tazawaru an, what does it mean? It would turn aside from them, from their cave. That when the sun rose, it would turn aside from their cave. In other words, that the sunlight would not be directly on them. It would rise from their side. It would not rise in front of them. Because imagine, if you're facing the sunrise, what would happen? The sunlight would be on you directly. So when the sun would rise, it would not rise from in front of them. It would rise from beside them. That on side, al-yamini, the right, meaning towards the right side of the cave. It would rise from the right side of the cave. It would turn away from the right side of the cave. So what do we learn? That the sun rose from their side. It wasn't that the opening of the cave faced the sun as the sun would be rising. Because if that was the case, then what would happen? The sun would constantly be on them for a very long period of time. And early in the morning, when the sun is rising, early during the day, the sun is extremely intense and the heat is very intense. So just imagine if they're sleeping over there in the cave and the sun is shining bright on them, what would happen to their bodies? Right? So the sun, as it would rise, تَزَاوَرُوا عَنْ كَهْفِهِمْ, it would not touch them, ذَاتَ الْيَمِينِ, on the right side. So in other words, the sun would rise from the right side of the cave. وَإِذَا, and when, غَرَبَتْ, it set. غَرَبَتْ is from the root غَيْنْ رَبَ, غُرُوب. What does غُرُوب mean? The setting of the sun. So when the sun would set, what would happen? تَقْرِضُهُمْ, it would cut them off, ذات الشمال, on the left side. تقرض is from the root قاف را ضاد. قرض. What does قرض mean? What does قرض mean? Loan. قرض is used for a loan. But over there where I told you that the literal meaning of the word qard is what? To cut something. Because what happens? If a loan is not returned, it cuts relationships. And also, in order to give a loan, what happens? You have to cut away a portion of your wealth and give it to someone. Right? So تَقْرِضُهُمْ, it would cut off, it would clip, it would turn aside, that the shimal, on the left side. What does it mean by this? That first of all, it wouldn't come on them. It cut them off from their left, it wouldn't come directly on them. Again, when the sun was setting, it would not set in front of them so that sunlight would be directly on them. Another opinion is given that تَقْرِضُهُمْ ذَاتَ الشِّمَالِ, that it would just touch them in the sense that only when the sun would be setting, then a little bit of sunlight would be on them. So what does this show? That the cave, it faced south. Because it would rise from their right, which is the east, and it would set onto their left, which is the west. So they faced south. And by this, they were saved from the direct harmful rays of the sun. Others have said that they would get some sunlight, direct sunlight, but only at the time of sunset. And that is necessary. Isn't it so? You need sunlight to get vitamin D. It's very essential. If you don't get it, it's going to affect your bones. It's going to affect your body. So they got just enough sunlight directly, that was sufficient. Not more than that, not less than that. وَهُمْ, while they, meaning the Ashabul Kahf, they would be where? فِي فَجْوَةٍ مِّنْهُ, in an open space in it. Fajwa is from the root fa, jim, waw. Fa, jim, waw. And fajwa is used for the opening or the vastness and openness between two things. What is it? The vastness or the openness between two things. So basically it's used for the opening. Fi fajwatin min, they were in an open space from it. From what? It refers to the cave. Because the cave was what? It was a kahf. It was an open cave. They weren't like in a corner of the cave, but they were at the opening. In other words, the cave was not tight. It was not too small. And they were at the opening so that they would get enough fresh air and they would also get enough sun. They were not in a very dark and a closed corner, but an open, airy place where there was coolness of the breeze and there was also just enough sunlight. ذَلِكَ, that, min, from. ذَلِكَ refers to what? First of all, how the sun would rise and set, that the sunlight would not be directly on them. And secondly, ذَلِكَ also refers to how they took refuge in the cave, the entire story so far. This is from what? Allah says, min, from ayatillah, signs of Allah. This is from the signs of Allah. This help that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provided for them. This is all from the ayat of Allah. Meaning, all of this shows the power of Allah, the wisdom of Allah, the mercy of Allah. This is not a coincidence. Because generally when such things happen, what do we say? It's a coincidence. No, it's the rahmah of Allah. It's of the signs of Allah. مَن يَهْدِ اللَّهِ, whoever Allah guides, فَهُوَ الْمُهْتَدِي, then he is indeed the rightly guided one. وَمَن يُضْلِلْ, and whoever he leads astray, فَلَن, so never, تَجْدَ, you would find, له, for him, وَلِيًّا, a wali, who is a murshid, one who guides. Murshid is from the root rashinda, one who gives rushd. Murshid is who? One who gives rushd, one who guides. Who is a wali? One who protects. And who is a murshid? One who guides. Murshid over here is the sifa of wali. You would not find for him any protector who would also guide him. So in other words, a protecting guide. So what does this show? That guidance is only in the hands of Allah. Therefore, a person should seek from who? Only Allah. وَتَحْسَبُهُمْ, and you would think them. Meaning, if you, O Samir, if you were there by the cave, and if you saw them, لَوْ رَأَيْتَهُمْ, if you saw them, تَحْسَبُهُمْ, you would think them. Think them, meaning the Ashabul Kahf. You would think them to be who? أَيْقَاضًا, one's awake. أيقاظ is the plural of the word يقظ. Ya, qaf, wa. Yaqظ. And yaqظ is used for someone who is awake, who is not asleep. If you saw them, you would think that they are awake. They're not sleeping. Why? They seemed awake. They looked awake. وَهُمْ, while they, رُقُودٌ, one's asleep. Ruqud is the plural of the word raqid. Ruqud is the plural of the word raqid. And raqid is used for someone who is sleeping. Basically, ruqud or ruqad is to sleep. And it is used for sleeping for a long time. Ruqad is what? To sleep for a long time. From the same root is the word yarqud. Yarqud. And yarqud is used for a person who sleeps a lot. Yarqud is who? A person who sleeps a lot. A person who loves to sleep. Once they sleep, they don't like to wake up. And from the same root is marqad. What is a marqad? A sleeping place. Marqad, before that, before grave, literally it means what? A sleeping place, a place of sleeping. And then it's used for grave, like in the Quran, مَنْ بَعَثَنَا مِنْ مَرْقَدِنَا. So naum is what? Just to sleep. And ruqad is to sleep for a long time. And it's also used for such a sleep that is very pleasant, very comfortable. You know, sometimes you sleep and when you wake up, it's like you haven't slept. Either you had a very bad dream, or there were so many things going on, there was so much noise that you couldn't sleep. The alarm clock kept on ringing, or there were weird sounds and you couldn't sleep. Ruqad is used for a very comfortable sleep, very pleasant sleep, which is why then a person becomes yarqud, that they don't like to wake up. So, if you saw them, you would think that they are awake while they were actually ruqud, they were once asleep. وَنُقَلِّبُهُمْ, and we would turn them. And it is said that you would think that they were awake because it said that they were sleeping with their eyes half open. You know, sometimes people sleep like that, with their eyes slightly open, and you can't tell if they're sleeping or not. وَنُقَلِّبُهُمْ, and we would turn them from side to side. And this is also why you would think that they're awake and not sleeping. Sometimes if you want to figure out if somebody's sleeping or not, you see if they are still or they're moving. Nuqallib is from the root qaf lam ba. Taqlib is to turn from side to side, to overturn, to turn about. That al-yamin, on the right. That is the feminine of the word dhu. It is the feminine of the word dhu. It means possessor. It also means with, on, in. Gives different meanings depending on how the word is being used. If you notice, only the right and the left, not the back or the stomach. Why? Because sleeping on the stomach is not permissible, and sleeping on the back is not that comfortable. When is it that you're really sleeping comfortably? On your right or on your left? And the sunnah is also what? Sleeping onto the right side. Many times what happens if a person's body is paralyzed after a stroke or something? Their bodies have to be constantly turned from right to left. Why? If the body is not turned continuously, then what will happen? A person can get bed sores, and at the same time, the part of the body will hurt. Think about it. If you're sleeping constantly on one side, what will happen? You know, sometimes you get pins and needles in your right arm because you're sleeping constantly on the right arm, right? So your body gets uncomfortable. So this is why constantly they were being made to turn from right to left. And because of this, if anyone were to see them, they would think that these people are actually awake because they were constantly turning. So we would turn them ذات اليمين, on the right, and also وذات الشمال, and on the left. We would turn them on their right side and also on their left side. وَكَلْبُهُمْ, and their dog. Whose dog? The dog of the Ashab al-Kahf. It was where? It was basitun, one that stretches. Basata is what? To stretch, to extend. So it had stretched out, it had extended out, it had spread out what? ذِرَاعَيْهِ, its forelegs. Where? بِالْوَصِيد, at the entrance of the cave. ذِرَاعَيْ is actually ذِرَاعَيْن, with a noon at the end. But the noon has been eliminated. Why? Because ذِرَاعَيْ is being connected with he. It's the dual of the word ذِرَاع. And the word ذِرَاع is used for arm or forearm. Sometimes it also applies to hand. So it had stretched out its forearms where? At the entrance. Can you picture the dog? You know how sometimes dogs are sitting with their forearms like this and their back up straight. And sometimes they're lying down with their forearms stretched out. Al-wasid is from the root wasad dal. Wasad. Wasad is to close something. What does it mean? To close something. And mu'sadah is from the same root. Alayhim narun mu'sadah. Upon them will be fire that has closed in on them. Such fire in which they will be closed in, they are locked in. And wasid is used for the entrance. The entrance of a room or of a hall, of somewhere, of a house where there is a door. Wasid is what? Used for such an entrance where the door is. What's the purpose of the door? To lock, to close the entrance. Isn't it so? You open the door, the entrance is there. Once you close the door, once you shut the door, what happens? The entrance is locked, it is closed. And wasid is also used for the boundary, a boundary wall that is made for livestock animals. Like in a barn, what happens? There is a fence, the boundary wall. That is also wasid. Why? What's the purpose? To lock the animals in, so that they stay in, they don't go out. So wasid is used for the entrance, the threshold. where the door is. So over here, how was this locked? How was this locked? With the presence of the dog over there. How the dog was lying over there. How the dog was sitting over there. So وَكَلْبُهُمْ بَاسِطٌ ذِرَاعَيْهِ بِالْوَصِيدِ. Allah says, low if. Now the entire scene, imagine. If you see them, it's like as if they're awake, but they're actually sleeping. Why? Because their eyes are slightly open. Or because they're tossing and turning. And their dog is right at the entrance, sitting with its forearms stretched out. So Allah says, لَوِ اطَّلَعْتَ عَلَيْهِمْ. If you looked upon them, if you were informed of them. اطَّلَعَ is from the root طَالَ مَعِينَ as well, طُلُوع. What does it mean? To rise. And اطَّلَعَ عَلَى. اطَّلَعَ, when it is followed by عَلَى, what does it mean? To look down at something from above. What does it mean? To look down at something from above while facing it. And this is what happens when the sun rises. It shines from above down on us, and it's facing us. So اطَّلَعَ عَلَى is to look down on something from above while facing it. So Allah says, لَوِ اطَّلَعْتَ عَلَيْهِمْ. If you looked on them, on who? On the people of the cave, while they were in the cave. If you looked at them, if you were informed of them, and ittala is also to be informed of something. Ittala is also to be informed of something. So if you look down on them, what would happen? لَوَلَّيْتَ. Surely you turned away. Walla, from the root, wa'ulamiyah. What is it? To turn physically away from something. So لَوَلَّيْتَ مِنْهُمْ. You would turn away from them. Why? فِرَارًا, in flight. Firar is from the root farara. Farara. And firar is to flee, to run very quickly. And it is also to run out of fear. And many times, people run out of fear very quickly in a very fast speed that generally they would not be able to run in. Isn't it so? So, لَوَلَّيْتَ مِنْهُمْ فِرَارًا. You would turn away from them, fleeing, running away from them. Why? Out of fear. وَلَا مُلِئْتَ. And surely you would be filled. Muli'ta is from the root mim lam hamza. Mil'un. What does it mean? Fill of something. So muli'ta, you were filled. You would have been filled with what? You would be occupied with what? Minhum, from them, ru'ba, in awe, in terror. Ru'b is from the root ra'in ba, and ru'b is used for such fear that is very shadid. So the shidda of fear, extreme fear. And it's also used for when a person is full of fear, full of awe, full of fear. So وَلَا مُلِئْتَ مِنْهُمْ رُعْبًا. You would be filled out of fear of them. Which is why you wouldn't be able to stay there and you would want to run away from there. This is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protected them. Because imagine, if somebody is passing by and he sees these people in the cave sleeping, he's like, hi, who are you? Wakes them up. The entire plan is gone. Right? Because they were to sleep for a long period of time so that resurrection would be proven. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the scene as such that nobody would go to them, nobody would approach them. They were kept secure, they were kept in that state like this. Now just imagine, if some men are sleeping inside a cave, it would be a good opportunity for a passerby to go in and see what they have, if they're sleeping especially. And if they have some belongings, steal them. Right? If they have some food, take it. Or at least go and wake them up to ask them who they are, to ask them about some directions. But the whole scene was such that no one would dare come close to them. And because of that, they remained sleeping for 309 years. Try sleeping for one day. You won't be able to. Because of the noise, because of the interruptions, because of the phone calls, because of the questions of people. You won't be able to sleep. People will come and ask you, have you prayed? They will come and ask you, have you done your work? Have you had dinner? They will ask you, do you have to go somewhere? Are you sure you're done with your work? People are constantly going to come and ask you, and because of that, you will not be able to sleep for long. But the way the whole scene was created, that it appeared as though they were sleeping, and the dog was right at the front. What does that show? That this is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protected them. This is how He prevented them from waking up. You find this amazing? Allah can do far more amazing. Now there's a question over here. They had a dog. And the dog was at the front, at the threshold, at the opening of the door. So, is keeping a dog permissible? Only for guarding. Only for the purpose of guarding. What else? It should be outside the house. for farming and to guide, for instance, a blind person. So generally remember that keeping a dog as a pet is not permissible. It is haram. Keeping a dog is only permissible for certain purposes and with restrictions. What are those purposes for which keeping a dog is permissible? Abu Hurairah narrated, the Prophet ﷺ said that whoever keeps a dog, except a dog for herding livestock, hunting, or guarding the fields. 3 purposes are mentioned over here. What are they? Herding livestock, secondly hunting, and thirdly guarding the fields. Whoever keeps a dog for other than this purpose, then a qirat will be deducted from his reward every single day. Meaning a whole lot of good deeds will be reduced from his hasanat every single day. And this is a hadith that is reported by Sahih Muslim. Now in this hadith we find only 3 purposes. Ibn Abdul Barr, he said that in my view, the meaning of this hadith also includes keeping dogs if there is a purpose in doing so, and for warding off harm if a person needs it. Therefore, if a person needs to keep a dog in order to guard his house, in order to guard his business, let's say from thieves, from robbers, or for example, a dog has to be kept for search purposes. You know, for example, if there is ever a natural disaster, people go around with dogs looking for people who are trapped under the rubble. Similarly, guiding a disabled person, for these reasons a dog may be kept. However, remember that the dog must not be admitted in the house. It should not be admitted into the house. Why? Because the Prophet ﷺ said, angels do not enter a house in which there is a dog or there are pictures. Pictures, what it means is that the picture should not be openly displayed. So for example, if you have a book for your child and in the book there's a picture, or you have a science book and in that is a picture, or you have a laptop and in that is a picture, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Close it, right? Sometimes you buy a book, there's a picture on it. Make sure you put a sticker on it or something. It should not be openly displayed. Because when pictures are displayed or when there are dogs in the house, then what happens? Angels do not come. Now there's a question. If there is a disabled person who needs the dog as a constant guide all the time, even inside the house, then what should you do? Then some scholars have allowed that it is permissible. Why? Because it is for a genuine reason. It is for a legitimate reason. But others have not allowed. Why? Because whose obligation is it to guide someone who is disabled? Whose duty is it? It's the duty of people. It's our duty, it's our obligation that we must look after our old ones. That we must take care of our relatives who are old, who are disabled, who need help, who need to be guided, and they should not be left to the mercy of other enemies. It's our duty that we have to do ihsan. So, otherwise, outside, yes, a dog may be used. But generally, whose responsibility is it? It's the responsibility of the family, of the rest of the believers. Now, if you notice over here, the dog is mentioned along with it. Now, some people may wonder, why is the dog mentioned over here? First of all, the dog over here is guarding them. The dog is not sleeping, cuddled up with them. Where is it? At the entrance, guarding them, right? And the dog has been mentioned, and Ibn Kathir, he mentioned, with regards to commentary of this ayah, that their dog was included in their blessing. So he slept as they slept in their sleep. Just as they slept for 309 years, their dog even slept the whole time. And this is the benefit of keeping company with righteous ones. This is the benefit of keeping the company of who? The righteous ones. That even if you yourself are nothing, you will get the benefits. Why? Because those whom you are with are covered with the mercy. So just imagine if a dog benefited, then we should be more haris to keep righteous company, because we are more needy. Allah says, وَكَذَلِكَ, and likewise, بَعَثْنَاهُمْ, we raised them. We woke them up. What does it mean by وَكَذَلِكَ بَعَثْنَاهُمْ? Meaning, just as we put them to sleep, وَضَرَبْنَا عَلَىٰ آذَانِهِمْ, just as we put them to sleep, similarly, we also woke them up. We have the power to do so. We put them to sleep and we woke them up. بَعَثْنَاهُمْ. Why? لِيَتَسَاءَلُوا, so that they ask, so that they question. Lam over here is not of reason, but rather of consequence. As a result, once they woke up, what happened? يَتَسَاءَلُوا. يَتَسَاءَلُوا is from tasa'ul. Tasa'ul is to do su'al from one another, to question one another. They ask one another, بَيْنَهُمْ, among themselves, about what? About how long they had slept for. قَالَ, he said. Who said? قَائِلٌ, a speaker, minhum, from them. Meaning one of them spoke. One of who? The Ashab al-Kahf. One of them said, Come, how much labithum you stayed? How much you stayed? Meaning, how long have we been here? How long have we been sleeping? Labithum is from the root lam batha. What does it mean? To remain somewhere, to stay somewhere. So how long have you been staying here? How long have we been sleeping? Qalu, they said, meaning the others, they replied to this one. Labithna, we remained, yawman, a day, meaning an entire day, aw, or ba'da, some yawm of a day. Either we stayed for an entire day, or we have stayed for some part of the day. It's like if you sleep in the morning, and if you wake up in the afternoon, you don't know if you slept only for that morning, or if you slept the entire day, and then woke up the next afternoon. Sometimes it happens with people. Believe me, it happens. I remember my friend's brother, he woke up once at Maghrib time, and he thought it was Fajr. And he got ready for school, and he came to have breakfast, and everybody's like, what's wrong with you? We're having dinner. So he thought it was actually Fajr time. So sometimes it happens that you don't know how long you've been sleeping for. Is it only a few hours or an entire day? So this is similarly, they were also confused that either we have slept for an entire day or just a part of a day. Qalu, they said. Who said? The rest of them. They said, Rabbukum, your Rabb, a'lamu, is most knowing. Bima, with what labistum you stayed. Obviously there were no clocks or calendars. So Allah knows best. Let's forget about it. So what does it show to us? That we should not delve into arguments or discourse which produces no benefit. If you think about it, if they discuss, no, I think we've been sleeping for 2 days. I think we've been sleeping for 3 hours. Would that bring any benefit at all? Would it? No benefit whatsoever. It would just be a mental exercise, perhaps leading to differences of opinion, perhaps leading to discord, perhaps leading to division amongst themselves. So they say, Rabbukum a'lamu bima labistum. This is not that important. Let's focus on what is more important. We're hungry. We need food. فَبَعَثُوا, so you send. أَحَدَكُمْ, one of you. Send one of you, meaning send one of us. بِوَرِقِكُمْ, with your silver coin. Waraq is from the root waw-ra-qaf. And waraq is used for a leaf. Waraq is used for a leaf. And from this, some have understood waraq to be paper money. But the fact is that at that time, there were only coins that existed. So the word waraq is understood as silver coin and not paper money. So فَبَعَثُوا أَحَدَكُمْ, send one of you with what? بِوَرِقِكُمْ, with your money. هَذِهِ, this, with this silver coin of yours. إِلَى الْمَدِينَةِ, to the city. Which city? Whichever city that the cave was close to. فَلْيَنْظُرْ, so he should look. So send him why? To the city with the money? To get some food. To buy some food. Because we've been sleeping for so long, we're hungry. One of us should go, all of us should not. فَلْيَنْظُرْ, so he should look. Who should look? The one who is going to go to purchase the food. He should look. أَيُّهَا, which of it? It refers to what? It refers to the city. It refers to the Medina. And remember, the word Medina is used for what kind of a city? It is from tamaddana, to live in a civilized way. So it is used for such a city that follows a certain law and order. That is in a civilization. So فَلْيَنْظُرْ أَيُّهَا أَزْكَى طَعَامًا. He should look that which of it is pure in food, is purest in food. أَيُّهَا has been understood as أَيُّ أَهْلِهَا. Which of its people, meaning which of the sellers of the food are the most pure. In other words, get the purest food. What do they mean by azka, most pure? Halal. Azka refers to halal. And also then tayyib, meaning the best food available. Azka is from the root? Zaika? Yeah, tazkiyah. So go and see which person sells the cleanest food.
And what is meant by cleanest? That first of all, physically, obviously, the cleanest of all that is available. Sometimes you go to buy food and you see the person who's coughing at the same time he's making the bread. Perhaps he wipes his nose with his hand and he continues making the food. This is not azka. Okay. Similarly, there are so many flies. This is not azka. What is azka? Clean. Also, azka includes most halal. That he should find the most halal option. This is very important. When you eat out, generally, what do we like to eat? Just something that pleases the taste buds, or something that looks good to the eye. We don't care at all about the nutritious value of it. But what do we see? We're so careful. Make sure you get the purest of food, the best food. And because they knew that the people were not Muslim, they're emphasizing that make sure you find the most halal option. Most halal option. And this is something that we need to consider as well, especially when we're eating it.
فَلْيَأْتِكُمْ. So he should come to all of you. بِرِزْقٍ with food, minhu from him, or from it. Minhu refers to the person from whom he buys the food. وَلْيَتَلَطَّفْ. And he should be careful, or he should be gracious. What does it mean by وَلْيَتَلَطَّفْ? Lam means what? Should. It's of amr. And yatalattaf is from lam, ta, fa, lutf. Lutf. And lutf has two meanings. The first meaning of the word lutf is to be careful. To be careful. How? That when a person does something with secrecy, he is so careful that he does the action with secrecy, in a subtle way. And in order to do this, what do you have to do? You have to plan. So, وَلْيَتَلَطَّفْ, what does it mean? That he should be very careful, he should plan carefully, and he should be secret with regards to what? With regards to his true identity. So وَلْيَتَلَطَّفْ, he should be careful with regards to what? With regards to his identity. In other words, he should not do anything that would reveal his identity. He should not do anything that should reveal his identity.
He should be extremely careful, he should be extremely subtle and kind and friendly. Why? In order to not draw any attention. Because if you draw any attention, then what's going to happen? You're falling for danger. If you say, so this is halal food, if you use the word halal, the other person's going to know you are a Muslim. And especially over there, where nobody was allowed to be a Muslim, you would be inviting trouble. So be extremely careful.
And also, وَلْيَتَلَطَّفْ is understood as that he should be careful about what? About buying the azka ta'aman. Sometimes what do? We go to a restaurant and we're like, oh, it's only fries. It's potatoes and oil. And we don't think about what if they have been fried in lard or some fat. We think that, oh, it's only potato. I mean, it's halal. Right? But وَلْيَتَلَطَّفْ, he should be careful. He should be very subtle, he should plan, and he should make sure that he buys the most azka food. Secondly, the word lutf also means to be kind and generous. It also means to be kind and generous. To be civil, to be friendly, to be nice. Sometimes what happens? When we're trying to buy halal food, what do? We want the manager to tell us all the ingredients. And if they don't wish to tell us, we become very rude. Well, if you don't want to buy it from him, go somewhere else. Be nice, be civil, be gentle. So وَلْيَتَلَطَّفْ, and he should also be nice. He should deal in the best possible way. He should show from his amal when purchasing food, when buying the food, when going about the city. And sometimes what happens?
Many times people get themselves into unnecessary trouble. How? By being rude and offensive. Like, for example, you're going somewhere, people say, you need to be checked, and you say, you think I'm a terrorist? Why are you saying something like that? What's the point? If you say such words, you're only inviting more trouble. You're offending the other person. Be polite. Use good akhlaq. So they're saying, وَلْيَتَلَطَّفْ, and you should be extremely gentle, very nice, very friendly, very civil. Because if you're not careful, you're going to invite trouble. And this is a lesson that we need to learn as well, and we need to implement every single day. that in the way that we behave, in the way that we interact, especially with non-Muslims, we should be polite and we should also be very careful. Do not do things to attract extra attention, to invite problem. Just be simple. Be straightforward. Be to the point. Nothing extra. وَلْيَتَلَطَّفْ.
If you look at the word وَلْيَتَلَطَّفْ, what's the font size? It's big. Why? It's the exact middle of the Quran. So you have studied 50% of the Quran. Alhamdulillah. Congratulations. So وَلْيَتَلَطَّفْ. At this point, be careful and be good. وَلَا يُشْعِرَنَّ. And he should not be aware at all. He should definitely not perceive. Bikum with you, ahada, anyone. Yush'iranna is from the root Shin Ain Ra, shu'ur. What does shu'ur mean? To be aware. To be informed of something.
If you notice over here, they send one of the fitya to buy food. Because food is a necessity. It is a need. We cannot live without it. But at the same time, we need to be very careful of what we eat. Why? Because what we eat affects us. It physically affects us. And when we are physically affected, obviously that is also going to affect what? Just our brain? Just our brain? In our bodies. And when your body is affected, how can you do ibadah? It affects your worship. And worship is a purpose for which you have been created. Now many times, we forsake good food, we forsake healthy food, we forsake nutritious food in the name of what? Accomplishing more work. In the name of saving time. We say, oh, don't worry about cooking all this food, just buy frozen and defrost it in the microwave. So quick. Just go buy the box and just add water to it, and here you have your meal ready. Just instant, right? We look for instant solutions, quick solutions, and we don't care about the nutritious value of the food that we are putting into our mouths. And we do this just so that we can get more work done. We can save time. But the fact is that if you're spending some time preparing some healthy food, that also is ibadah. If you're preparing healthy food for your family and it takes hours, perhaps 2 hours for you to do everything, remember, even that is ibadah. Perhaps you do not have the ability to stand in prayer for 2 hours. But when you will do this, Allah will give you reward. So make sure you rectify your need. Don't take it as a burden. Take it as a ni'mah, a blessing, that Allah has given you so many things that you can cook. Such a good hand Allah has given you that you can prepare such good smelling and good tasting food with a few ingredients even. Take it as a blessing, as a ni'mah. And remember that there is no piety in depriving yourself of good food. No piety whatsoever. In fact, it would go against piety because it affects your ibadah. The Prophet ﷺ said, religion is very easy. And whoever overburdens himself in his religion, he will not be able to continue in that way. If you deprive yourself of good food constantly, if you're eating out every day, if you're not taking time to prepare a salad with your food, to prepare home-cooked meals, what's going to happen? You're not going to be able to continue in that way. It's going to affect your ibadah. And if you're doing it in the name of saving time, to get more work accomplished, you will not be able to continue for long. The Prophet ﷺ said, so you should not be extremists. Don't go to the extreme of abandoning good food, and don't go to the other extreme of spending all of your time in making good food. But try to be near to perfection and receive the good tidings that you will be rewarded, and gain strength by worshipping in the mornings and evenings. So sometimes we overburden ourselves, and especially we neglect our nutrition. When we do that, we're only harming ourselves. So what do we see? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is teaching a lesson to us through these men. They were concerned about food. But which food? Azka ta'am. And we should also be careful about it. What kind of food are we eating? And also we see over here that they encourage one another to be extremely careful, extremely polite and gentle, and that no one else should find out about it. What do we see? That if a person adopts these two qualities in his life, planning before doing anything, and doing things gently, with secrecy. Secrecy does not mean you're hiding from everybody, but like in a gentle way. Why do you have to announce it to every single person you're sending an email? I mean, there's nothing to announce about it. Just focus on your work. Then, inshallah, he will be successful in what he wishes to achieve.
So لا يشعرن, no one should become aware of you, أحدا, anyone at all.